about shike. Shike is the death penalty. Japan is still one of the few countries that have the capital punishment, and it's only for murders. Murders that committed more than one crime, multiple murders. And in case of a murder, one single one, that includes torture and kidnap for ransom. What is really interesting is that by the penal code, the Japanese penal code, the execution is done by hanging. It's really different from the American one. This death penalty happens every year, but the Japanese government never executes more than 10 people per year, with two exceptions, 2008 and 2018. In those years, there were 15 executions. And 2020, which didn't actually have any execution. How does it work? With one exception, every time there is an execution, just one criminal is executed. The only exception was for 7 criminals, murders, that were part of a cult that injured more than 1,500 people and killed 13 others during the release of a toxic sarin gas in the Tokyo subway. That was a shocking news, but the leader and other 6 members were executed in that same day. How the execution happens, it's really simple but interesting at the same time. There is this execution room. In this execution room, the criminal will be hanged, and at his feet there is a trapdoor. The trapdoor is activated from one button of the front wall, the wall that was in front of this room. But what is interesting is that on the wall there are 3 buttons, and 3 police officers are in charge to press the buttons at the same time. No one of these officers know which one is the one that activates the trapdoor, and they have to press the buttons at the same time in order to avoid some traumatic effects or remorse in the police officers. So what happens is that these 3 police officers will activate the buttons, all 3 of them at the same time. And inside this execution room, the criminal will be hanged. And once the trapdoor is activated, the rope will cut his neck and the body will fall down into the trapdoor. Of course, those criminals will be sentenced to execution, but they won't know when it's gonna happen until the same day. That day, few hours prior, if not the same morning or 1 hour earlier, they will be told that's the execution date. And also the families will be informed only after the execution, if not some hours later the next morning. And this is really traumatic for the family members. Now, the Convention on the Child Rights and also the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights forbid Japan to execute minors under 18. But this type of execution is still extremely rare to happen. Only 9 juvenile criminals were sentenced to death and received this execution in 1966. Only 1 is left. The most recent juvenile execution was in 2012, when a young boy on his 18th birthday killed a woman, raped her, and also killed her baby. But except for that, usually executions don't involve minors under 18. From history, we know that these executions, these sentences to death, are really common in Japan, starting with the 4th century thanks to the Chinese influence. Only during the Nara period, these executions weren't so easy to happen, weren't practiced, because of the influence and the spreading of Buddhism. But hanging wasn't the only method for those executions. During the shogunate, this feudal military government of Japan, we had a really wide range of methods. There was boiling, burning, decapitation, punishment by sword, also waist cutting, and crucifixion. Crucifixion only for those who kill their own parents or the husbands. Samurai were also forced to do seppuku, and at the same time in that period, penal labor was a moderate punishment. But what changed concretely in the history? From 2007, the Justice Ministry started to release the names and the crimes of these soon-to-be executed criminals. And in 2010, the Justice Minister had Keiko Chiba as representative. And at that time, Keiko Chiba was also against this capital punishment. So he signed off 2 criminals from receiving this capital punishment, and also did something really important. He opened the execution chamber to the media, so everyone will know how this works, how it looks like, and what they do in that chamber. But in 2015, there was a national survey to see what Japanese think about these executions, these capital punishment, and the results were shocking. 80.3% of the population agree with the capital punishment, while in America only 54% agree. This percentage and the difference between what Japanese and Americans think about this capital punishment is pretty dramatic. But remember that this sentence is only for criminals, murderers, and to sentence someone to the death penalty, the Japanese court considered 9 elements, 9 factors. The degree of viciousness, the motive, and also how this crime was committed, the outcome of the crime, and also how many victims there were involved, the sentiments of the victim's family and how they feel towards the criminal, if he should or not receive this capital punishment. Another element to consider is the impact of the crime on the Japanese society. If this crime was a horrible crime that will have a really bad impact on the public opinion on Japan, then they might receive this sentence. The murder's age and also previous criminal records are really important factors to consider, together with the degree of remorse that this criminal has towards his crime. As we said, psychopaths, they have no remorse, no feelings toward this crime. I will make a video about Aum Shinrikyo because it's really interesting, it's shocking, it's scary, but it should be told. There are many videos about that, but I will do one too. By statute, no execution should be done on Saturdays and Sundays, as well as national holidays, and also from 21st December to January 2nd. Today was a really brief video about the Japanese capital punishment. Thank you so much for watching my videos and subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. Thank you and see you. Bye!